Next, it's a centuries-old tradition that you may well never have heard of.
Racer, state your business.
Royal Marines delivering the Constable's dues of wine.
If you'll follow me, sir.
The ceremony of the Constable's dues, its origins go back at least 700 years when visiting ships would have to pay the Constable of the Tower of London. But these days, instead of a tax, the ships are welcomed with a special ceremony. Here's Victoria Hollins.
A ceremony that started in the Middle Ages, reenacted in the most modern of ways. Royal Marine raiding craft speeding along the Thames with air cover provided by a Merlin helicopter.
Racer, state your business.
Royal Marines delivering the Constable's dues of wine.
And so began the ceremony of the dues. Today's historical reenactment marked a tradition that started because of the demands of King Richard III.
It was a demand of the king that any visiting ship or galleon to the Pool of London would pay a toll because they were under the protection of the Tower's guns. And so the toll varied, but then they decreed that it would be a set toll of 2 barrels of wine that had been presented by the ship's company to the constable.
It was the task of the band of the Royal Marines to accompany today's toll, a symbolic cask of port.
We're actually formed 360 years ago, probably about 2 miles away, when King Charles II actually brought us into existence. It's quite fitting now that we're here 360 years later under the reign of King Charles III. It's really special, and obviously some of the young lads that are in the parade today, they've only passed out in the last couple of weeks. So it's probably something that you'll only do once in your career potentially, so they can say they've ticked that off and very early on in their career.
Nowadays, the Constable of the Tower of London has a much more ceremonial role and is far more willing to share the gifts he's received.
This place is obviously steeped in history and depends upon the stories that within it and the events that have happened within it. So if we don't keep these things going, then they're gone forever. And so we don't take it too seriously, and you know, we pay our respects to the traditions, but we think it's important that we continue them year on year.
What happens to the port?
I couldn't possibly say exactly what happens to the port, but I do believe we are going to make sure that it is of good vintage.
Well, any reenactment does have to be historically accurate. Victoria Hollins, BBC London.